Never mind, he was on Hinge looking for a life partner in a long-term relationship. After he told me he wanted to marry me multiple times, of course. I loved this person so deeply. So to find out that they're basically an entirely other person and doing all of these things and being with other people to a absolutely horrifying level. Like, I can't explain this. Isn't one or two people that they cheated on me with.
So we have a who the fuck did I marry? Risa Tisa-esque story. And this one is a doozy, y'all. This one is crazy. It's like 10 parts. It's an hour long, you know what I mean? But stay to the end, please. It's very interesting. It's a road. I thought about cutting it up and I was like, nah, I'm just gonna play it all the way through. We're all gonna get through it. I think it's interesting enough to, to keep us locked in. I was enthralled and I was invested the whole time. And shout out to the creator, her name is Casey. It's terrible that this happened to her. I really hope this never happens to anybody else, another woman in particular. So let's spread the story, let's spread awareness, because the man is still out there doing the same thing allegedly to other women. And lastly, I'm not going to be talking that much during it because it's already long and there's really not much I need to add to it. She's going to tell her story. I really want to get her story out there. That's the most important thing. So I appreciate it.
In the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you need to watch this video. If you're a young single woman in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you need to watch this video. Before I get into it, I just want to put a disclaimer that this video is solely for educational purposes. No hate to anyone involved. This is all my experience, opinion, and or alleged. Welcome to Who the Fuck Did I Think I Was Going to Marry? Part 1. I'm going to try to keep it brief, but there's a lot. If you're from Dallas-Fort Worth, you probably recognize this person. I'm not from that area. I'm from New England, but I've known this person a majority of my life, and we grew up 5 minutes apart. I really never thought I would let this photo see the light of day, but this is us at our 8th grade graduation dance for proof. This was in like 2010. I've been in a relationship with this person from like Christmas time, Thanksgiving of this past year to like last week. Also, absolute last disclaimer too, the number one thing that I'm worried about in this whole situation is the number of people that this person has been physically intimate with. No shame in being physically intimate with multiple people whatsoever, but there is shame in not properly disclosing that, especially if you are not wanting to use condoms and asking your partner to not also use condoms and being with other people and not sharing that. If you have been physically intimate with this person in any capacity in recent months, I highly recommend that you get tested. And there's no shame in that. There is only shame on not properly disclosing your sexual history to your partner and putting their sexual health at risk. Okay, now that that's out of the way, we'll just get into it. Aside from knowing this person my entire life, pretty much, we recently reconnected this past Thanksgiving when I ran into him at a bar in my hometown, and I gave him my phone number. That was pretty much it. He texted me almost instantly, and at this point, I had been coming off of months of healing from a really bad breakup that ended in that person being on Hinge. Ryan, if you're watching this, fuck you.
Jesus.
Right off the bat, when this person was texting me, I immediately said, first 3 texts I sent to him were just saying, hey, I haven't started dating anyone yet. I've been really healing, like in my healing process. I'm unsure if I want to see anyone, but like I did give you my number, so I'm sorry about that. I'll show you the text. So here's the text that I sent. Very transparent, very communicative, as I pride myself on being. You can see before he offered to FaceTime me, which felt very forward, and immediately wanted like my social medias. At the time, I didn't have any social media. I bet he wishes I didn't have any now. To which he said all of the right things. He was like, I am so happy that you're working on yourself. That's really amazing. I'm so glad. I don't want to push you, but if you're open to it, I'd love to pursue a connection with you. So I could get into the details. I could show you every text and I will show you some. But basically the gist is I opened up a lot about my 5-year relationship ending, the trust issues I had with that, specifically because that person was on Hinge, which I'll get to. He came on very, very strong, saying he wanted to FaceTime me. He wanted me to come to Texas with him, like that he would be home during Christmas and that he could see me. So, like, it was very strong vibes, but I didn't really know how to read it. It was my first time like dating, and it's my first time really dating as an adult ever. So I just kind of stopped texting him like frequently. I didn't talk to him very frequently, and I said, let's just reconnect when you come back for Christmas. Christmas time rolls around. He flies from Texas back to New Hampshire, where we're from. By the way, he was also seeing a girl in Boston and flew back with a girl from Texas, which I found out through somebody because of my social media post. T. We have an absolute incredible first date, like out of a movie. I get there, it goes amazing. We sit at the bar for hours, talk about everything. He opens every door for me. He pulls out my chair. He takes off my coat. He takes care of the check. Like, he has his hand like around me. He asks if it's okay if he puts his arm around me. We talk about so much. We talk about everything. And I was just like, you know what? I love how this man knows what he wants. He's very direct. He's very straightforward. Like, he talked so heavily about wanting to be a father, have a family, be a present dad, have a job that allows him to be present, and said he wanted to take parenting classes so that he could be an equally contributing partner. Like,
it's almost as if he was weaponizing therapy. Like, he has gone to therapy to some extent, or he's at least on like some type of like therapy talk, or you know what I'm saying? And he just is consuming a lot about therapy terms, it sounds like, and he used it and he weaponized it. This is crazy. They're evolving.
Like, amazing stuff I'd never heard from a man before. He was so pushy on me about how much he wanted to be a family man. And when I came out and said, I don't want children, it was like he flipped a switch. He was just like immediately like, oh, I don't want children. We can be the cool aunt and uncle. Like, I don't need to have kids. We can save our money. Like, I personally think he was just feeding me what he thought either the girl before me or other girls like wanted to hear.
So you clocked that and you didn't think anything about it.
And when I said that I didn't want kids, he just, again, told me what I wanted to hear. But I didn't realize that until later. We end the date. He puts me in my car. He closes the door. I get ready to leave. And I don't know why I did this. And it was such a good memory until now. I fling open the car door and I say, blank, like his name, wait. And he just like goes to hug me, and I give him a kiss, and we share this amazing kiss, like out of a Hallmark movie. I'm not saying that to be like to brag about it, but like, it was incredible. We both felt it, or at least I felt it. I shouldn't say we both. I don't know what he feels. He doesn't feel anything. Amazing. I go home telling my friends, like, I'm like, oh my God, like my friend from high school who knows him, I'm like, oh my God, like this man is amazing. I am so happy that I found him. Like, I really hit the jackpot. He's so kind, but like, I'm going to take it slow because I don't want to mess it up. I'm head over heels for this man already. He goes back to Texas right after Christmas. We're texting just nonstop, paragraphs about what we want in a partner, how we've been working on ourselves, like what we really like. He's starting to tell me that he really sees this could go somewhere and that he would love to pursue me, and like he hopes that he's not being too pushy and wants to respect my boundaries, but he thinks I'm a very special girl. He even says that if I don't want to move to Texas for him, that he would be willing to make the move to come up to New Hampshire for me. You can pause to read for yourself, but we were basically talking about how like distance wouldn't be sustainable long term and we want to be close to each other. He says he'd move back to New Hampshire for me, but he would love for me to come to Texas. You can also take note of this part here where he's like, I would rather take the chance and wonder. I would rather pursue and wonder. I'd rather try than fail. Like, if you've talked to this man, these are phrases that you have definitely heard out of his mouth. He uses the same phrases when he talks to everyone, but we'll get to that. I picked up that he was love bombing me pretty quickly. It was pretty obvious. But I really thought that I had two choices. I could either let my struggles in my previous relationship ruin what could potentially be an amazing connection by having up all of these walls and being suspicious, or I could go in kind of aware that I'm being love bombed, but like just embrace someone actually like caring about me and wanting to be nice to me. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't. I'm trying to get.
And this is why when I talk about, like, I remember watching the video and this guy was saying how, like, you know, your walls are up and you have such a high level of protection against you. And I remember you guys, I don't know, if you know the video, then you know. I wish I could remember the guy's name. He was a black dude, younger dude, wears the glasses. He said some like stuff that I agree with, but it was very much like when I was listening to it, it just sounded like the same old, like, you gotta let your guard down to let love in. And as a man, I will never tell women that. If a woman wants to tell another woman she's too guarded and whatever the case may be, fine. I'm not going to be the one to tell a woman that, though. I will not do that for this very reason. What if she was my friend? What if she was my niece? What if she was some woman that I knew? And she was telling me about how she picked up on his love bombing. And then I was like, well, you just kind of got to let go of the past. And then this happens. And here's the thing. This isn't going to happen the majority of the time, what's happening to her, right? But most of the time, it is going to end badly for the woman. Most of the vast majority of the time, it's going to end badly for the woman to some mitigating, to some varying degree, right? So why would I ever set a woman up for that, for the small chance, the 10% chance, the 15% chance that she's actually with a decent human being of a man, right? I just refuse to do that. I'm not gonna go and be the one to tell women, yo, you got your walls up and you got your guard up. You got to let your past relationships. Not me. Not gonna do it. For this story right here is exhibit A, B, C, and D. Why I won't do that.
Trying to get through this as quickly as I can, but there's just so much. So he's calling me, FaceTiming me every night, which I don't know how he has time to, because what I know now is that he was talking to dozens and dozens of other girls, but I'll get to that in a later part. He is asking me what my dream engagement ring is like. And he called my original dream engagement ring ugly, which should have been my first sign to get the fuck out. But he's telling me how platinum is better than gold, and he wants to give me an 8-carat engagement ring because he wants to put an ice skating rink or ice rink on my finger, whatever the fuck that means, and that it's a symbol of how hard a man works and how a man cares for his woman, like really, really weird stuff. And then he's scrolling. His favorite thing to do would be to scroll on homes.com. So he would tell me that he wanted to buy a house. He would scroll on homes.com and share a screen with me and go through each home and like tell me what projects he would do in the home, which like that's nice. But one day it was he wanted a home in Texas. The next day he wanted a home in Tampa, Florida. Tampa, Florida ladies, beware. Then he'd want a home in New England instead. And then one day he didn't want a home at all. He decided that he was going to buy a yacht and we would travel the world on this yacht. He'd hire a crew for the yacht and get his boating license. And then one day it was a jet instead. He'd rather jet around the world with his pilot license, or he really wanted a Ferrari on Facebook Marketplace. Like he would get.
Who is this? Was he James Bond? What was his job? Was he like? You knew what his profession was at this point. Could he afford any of this?
Tunnel vision for these projects. Like there would be something new every other week that he was just like obsessed with, and then it would just like drop off. He would always send me stuff like this. He was constantly asking me to visit him in Texas, so we booked a flight for the last week of January. But before that, he came back to New Hampshire on January 15th because his brother was having a bachelor ski trip and he was home in New Hampshire for one day. His brother was getting married and he just kept saying that this wedding was happening and that he was the best man. And he wasn't asking me to go, but he just kept talking about how his brother's getting married in May. That'll be important later. But we go on this date on January 15th. He picks me up. He comes to my house. He says that he's coming to the door. I say, please don't come to the door. My parents are home and I'm not really ready to like introduce them to anyone. And he just says, I'm coming to the door. Like he completely disregards me. He meets my mother, tells her that he's going to take good care of me, and we go on our way. We have an amazing time. We shut down this bar 4 hours, same thing as before, amazing conversation. Like I'll spare you guys the details. And when I came home, like I journal a lot and I write a lot when I do journal. I came home that night and I was so smitten with this man. Like I wrote two sentences on January 15th and I said, it's game over. I love him, because I truly, truly thought that I was going to. The next day he leaves for his brother's bachelor trip. He texts me the entire time nonstop, to the point where I tell him like, go have fun with your brother and your friends. Like you don't need to worry about texting me. It's fine. And he just insists that he just loves talking to me so much. And he leaves and goes back to Texas right from the bachelor trip, so I don't see him. And the next 2 weeks leading up to me going to visit him in Texas, it's just nonstop. I can't wait to see you. It's going to be so magical. I'm going to take you to a rodeo, a concert. I'm going to buy you a pair of boots. Like just making crazy plans. Oh, the weekend of January 24th, I flew down to Fort Worth to visit him. This is us. We went to a rodeo. He took me to do all sorts of things. We went to a rodeo. We went to concerts. We went to bars. He took me shopping at Takova's, and I tried on a bunch of boots and like danced around the store, and he bought me a pair of boots. He branded them with my initials on them. Like we did so much stuff. It was during this time we first became physically intimate with each other, and I remember asking about protection, and he told me how he was clean because he had to take a test for the military, and how he hadn't been physically intimate with anyone for a long time, so he didn't have any protection, and he didn't like using protection. It had been about a year since he was with someone, like all this stuff. Come to find out, that was not true. He was with someone the day before I was there. So that is, I can't even talk about it because I feel so disgusting in my body, but like, stay safe out there. Don't let anyone convince you not to use protection, and don't trust anyone. By this point too, we had the conversation about us being exclusive. We weren't officially dating. We both said that we were not seeing other people. That only turned out to be true on my part, unfortunately. Now that we've been physically intimate, he told me he wanted to imply a no clothes in the bed rule, because being skin to skin with your partner brings you closer to them. I was fine with this. I actually thought that this was really sweet. Looking back, it's not. He did want to be close to me. He held on to me all night, every night, like just the most incredible closeness and just like vulnerability that you could ever feel with a person is what I thought that we were sharing. By my last day in Fort Worth, we had already planned for me to come back the first week of March, so a little ways away. He also asked me if I would like to join him on a work trip to Hawaii. Of course, I said yes. I was having a great time. I'd never been to Hawaii. Like, everything was going so well. So we had those two things planned. Between my first trip to Fort Worth and the second trip to Fort Worth, same stuff, like FaceTiming, talking about the future. Again, I'm not going to waste the details just for the sake of time. Beginning of March rolls around. I'm back in Texas. At this point, we're talking like, when we get married, I'm gonna marry you, touchy feely, like when we're old. Like, he had back problems. So he was like, when I get older, you're gonna help me put my socks on. I was like, oh my God, like, yeah, that's what a partnership is for. Like, he's like really planning for the future. Let's have another really fun weekend in Fort Worth. I meet a bunch of his friends who are super kind. He takes me to the Drover for espresso martinis. We go to a concert at Billy Bob's. We went to Second Rodeo. Just like a bunch of just all the stuff in the stockyards. Really, really great, amazing time. We get back to his place, like we're dancing around the kitchen at night. He's teaching me how to Texas two-step, like just so being so romantic. Like, again, I can't even express how amazing this man was and how much this felt like a movie. We were physical.
It's really sad listening to this because it should be like this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is what we all would expect a romance to feel like and be like, but alas, it was not. It was a farce. You know what I mean? Like, it really is sad. And as a man, I'm saying like that. As a man has played games and you know what I mean and all of that stuff, being on the other side of it now, as you know, developing myself and trying to make myself a whole human being and trying to heal up from all the stupid shit I've been through and all the things that I put people through. Like, when I see this right here, I'm like, how could it how could this ever be something that a human being could do to another human being? This is crazy. This is like torturing animals. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so needless and pointless and disgusting. I don't know, man. It's really crazy, but it's so common. It's so common for men to do this to varying degrees. You know, this is crazy.
Together, like I just couldn't believe the moments that we were sharing. I now know that those were probably all staged. I don't know how you can stage intimate moments like that. It's very concerning. But I, again, head over heels. He's telling me everything but I love you. Like, you're an amazing person. We're going to grow old together. We're planning our life together. I'm planning to move down there at this point because he had already been asking me if I wanted to move down there. Now he was like dead set on me being down in Texas. Like, he cleaned out half his closet for me. He's like, you can put your stuff here. I need to refresh my rug. Like, he wanted me there.
Probably sounds like he was probably trying to isolate her from her family.
With how well things were going, I was starting to open up to the idea, and I was trying to see if I could get my job to be fully remote or potentially find a new job. That way I could go and be down there with him. And he kept telling me, the day I drive my truck up to get you into Hampshire is going to be the best day of my life. I can't wait to have you here. Like, just all this stuff. He takes me to this diner that he frequents for breakfast and brunch. He's friends with the staff. I'm just amazed at like how well connected this guy is and how much good company he keeps. He's taking me on his Sunday errands to like wash his truck, which that's just like a whole other thing. This weekend in Fort Worth is wrapping up, and now we're both dead set on our trip to Hawaii, which is in 2 weeks. So we're planning for that. I'm buying bikinis, buying outfits. He's like, last time I went to Hawaii, I did XYZ. Like, we're just planning out the whole thing, and we're both very, very excited. And I thought I was talking too slow in the first parts, and I think I talked too fast in the most recent one. I left out a lot of stuff, so I'm going to share some random details before we talk about Hawaii. The love bombing was still continuing. He was telling me he's never felt like this before. He gets butterflies when he sees me. This feels so right, yada, yada, yada. He would constantly pay for everything. I offered to pay for stuff all the time, but he told me there's like a 90-10 rule. He had a provider mindset, which I respect. I respected, but never expected. I always expected to be an equally contributing partner in my relationships. He just wouldn't let me. He was very insistent on buying things and spending money on me.
Again, what do I say? What do I say about the men that are obsessed with that? I don't, I like to be clear. I don't, I, if you want to take care of your woman, if you can and you want to, of course, of course, right? Of course. But the men that are obsessed with that, it's just benevolent misogyny. That's all it is. Because I don't get it. You know what I mean? Like if you're like, I don't know how a person can genuinely be not misogynistic or you know what I mean, or at least be anti-misogynistic and be on some like, no, I gotta buy everything and I gotta pay for everything and blah 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? Like I think those are two different things. I think it's two, and I love what she said. She said she never expected it, but she was cool with it. She never expected that. And that's how I feel like the men should be. It should be like, I expect to pay for as much of the things that I possibly can pay for in my relationship. I'm going to spend all my money, you know what I mean? Like for the most part, I'm going to spend all my money on my wife, on my girl, you know, all my disposable income. I'm going to spend it on her or you know what I mean? A lot of it. I'm going to spend a lot of my disposable income on my girl, on my girlfriend before she becomes my wife. When she becomes my wife, I'm going to spend the vast majority of my income taking care of my wife, taking care of my family. Like these are things I expect to do. Being the sole provider, I don't, to me, I feel like I have some control, but relatively speaking, I don't feel like I have much control over that. If I make $80,000 a year, I'm working my hardest, I'm grinding. That's a good amount of money. That's not enough money to, in most places, to provide for a woman. You know what I mean? Like, so if she's working or whatever, she's contributing, great. Absolutely. I expect that. I'm pretty sure because most women work. So I can expect that because that's the average, the average thing to expect out of a woman, whatever. I, but men who are obsessed with that idea for me are instant red flags. I'm instantly like, why? Why are you so obsessed with that? That's no hate. That's coming from I'm a provider man and all of this. So anybody that I'm a provider man, like I do all of that. I can provide all that stuff. That's no hate. I'm just telling you, as a man that is capable of providing 100%, I do still think that it's odd to be like, I gotta provide, because it seems like they're just trying to isolate the woman, right? Trying to get them away from their career, get them away from their family, get them, so they can sink their hooks into them so they can control them more. That's what it seems like to me almost every single time. It's almost always followed with some sort of abuse.
I also forgot to mention the first time I visited him in Texas, he asked me to be his date to his brother's wedding. That was in May. He also asked me if I would be his date to a wedding in Florida where he didn't yet have a +1, but he was going to ask his friends if he could bring me. Also, I'm not going to touch heavily on this because it is very personal and I want to respect this person's privacy, even though they clearly do not respect me in any capacity. He also had a lot of family problems going on, and that deeply, deeply affected him to the point where I didn't ask about it because I knew the attitude would just shift, if you know what I mean. So, anyway, we leave for Hawaii on March 18th, and the trip is absolutely incredible. This part is where it's going to get really hard for me to talk about, but this was us on the trip. This was the day he asked me to officially be his girlfriend. He planned it out. He took me to a spot to watch the sunset. He said he had it planned out for weeks. And he said that now, whenever we come back to Hawaii, because at this point he would go once a year for work, that we would have a place. And I just can't even explain like the connection that I thought that we had and how deeply, deeply in love I was with him and how deeply I thought he was giving me back that love when he wasn't, We truly made such a good team. We rented a Jeep, we drove around the island. He worked, I did my own thing. We met back at the hotel. We planned out our days and nights. The weekend when he wasn't working, like we just had so many things that we were hitting. We just drove around the island, and he was just constantly telling me that we're such a good team and that he loves how I'm adventurous and fun and that he just like loves doing life with me. And he's just driving the Jeep. He's holding my hand, like kissing the top of my hand, just like looking over at me while he's driving in all our places. Like you get the details. Like it is so hard for me to talk about because that was so real. I was so invested in this. Another photo of us on the beach. Like we just did so many fun things. We saw so many places, ate so much good food. He wanted to get matching tattoos at one point. Thank God I did not do that because I almost did. We did not get matching tattoos, but he brought that up. I did, however, jump out of a plane for this man.
This fool was on a whole, he's diabolical. He's something different.
We went skydiving, which was super, super fun. Not for him, I did it for myself, but we just did so much. Like I can't even explain how much fun it was. And I thought that this trip really cemented where our relationship was going. The things that he said to me about how he cannot wait to plan our life together, how the weddings are coming up, we're going to be traveling to Tampa, how we are just so similar, we're so different but in such good ways. Like he's just telling me the most incredible things about how I'm the most amazing person he's ever seen. He's never had a connection like this. That just like classic, kind of classic stuff, but I really like want you to sit with me. And I know that I'll never be able to explain this to someone without having them physically be me and be in those moments. But it is so terrifying how he was so sweet and genuine
No, I can understand this. Yeah.
and caring in those moments. Meanwhile, he was on Hinge back in Fort Worth talking to girls.
I said this the other day, but when I talked about how men are sociopaths, that's a that's a symptom. Like that's a part of it. How you can totally disregard the feelings, the emotions of another human being, while being present though. Like so it's a weird dance. So like for the man, I'm saying you're in the moment. In the moment, the thing that how do I say this? The thing that makes it believable, the reason why he's so able to do it is because he's free. There is no pressure on him, right? Like, really think about it. When you're, because she acts like, oh, yeah, you know, I don't know how, like, the connection could be this deep. I don't know how he could be basically, like, how can he fake it this well? The reason why is because for the man in the situation, he's not there. That's not him, right? So essentially, imagine being in a mascot uniform, right? And you go out in front of 10,000 people, you're not nervous. I go put me in a mask, like the masked singer or whatever. Put me out there. I'll sing whatever. I don't care. As long as if I never have to take off my mask, I will do almost anything you want me to do on that stage. No embarrassment whatsoever. I don't care. You're never going to know it's me. Don't care at all. That is what it's like for him in that moment because it's not him. He's a character that he created. So he can be free and it feels good to the other person in the relationship because he's able to free himself from who he really is. He gets to compartmentalize, you know, who he really is. Don't put that shit in the back of his mind and then morph into this fake person for her, right? And then lie to her and convince her. That's how the men are able to do it, pretty much. That's the best way I can describe it.
In Fort Worth while he was with me in Hawaii. I did not know that at the time. Saying everything but I love you. You know how it is in a new relationship when I really like you, no, I really like you, I adore you, I love this about you. Like just absolutely just incredible, like private moments. They're all like I don't know why I'm smiling. They're all ruined now. And I think that that's something with this whole process that I've experienced is that I can make jokes on the internet as much as I want to. I can say that he is just a man, but at the end of the day, these are real things that I experienced, and I will have to figure out how to trust somebody fully again after just learning how to trust somebody fully again. Glossed over the Hawaii trip. There was a lot more detail and small moments, mostly just in his mannerisms toward me, like the way that he would look at me. But I genuinely just can't talk about those right now because I will turn into a puddle. So we'll move on. By the end of the Hawaii trip, he kind of had it in his head that we could be travel influencers. I already have somewhat of a platform because I was a skincare influencer in like 2022. If you remember that, you probably haven't seen me on your For You page in like 3 years. So, hey. The Hawaii trip is over at this point. We're in the airport ready to go home, but we're on separate flights because I was going back to New Hampshire. He was going to Texas. He was waiting for me to get on my flight because I boarded first. So he waited for me. I was the literal last person to get on the plane because I always do that because I don't want to sit on the plane if I don't have to. I scanned my boarding pass and he stood there and waited for me and watched me and said goodbye as I cleared the tunnel into boarding the plane. And it like instant I sat down on the plane, he instantly texted me, said, I miss you already. The next thing that we have to look forward to is this wedding in Florida. It's his friend's wedding. He's officiating the wedding now, so they gave him a +1 and he asked me to be his +1. So we have about a month and a half to go, and that's the next time we're going to see each other. So a week after Hawaii, everything's great. He's texting me, I'm texting him, or FaceTime as usual. Another week passes, amazing. I miss you. I miss you. 2 weeks after Hawaii, things start to change. So many people are going to roll their eyes when I say this, but I'm an extremely intuitive person. I pick up on shifts in tone, text messages, like I just pick up on all that stuff. That being said, I'm also a very communicative person. So in my relationships, communication is key for me. If something feels off, I'm going to say it. I will never push for an explanation, but I will never not bring it up for the sake of my own sanity. I noticed little by little that he's not texting me as much. He's not texting me first thing in the morning. He never texts me goodnight anymore. He stops calling me babe, babe, baby girl. Like he called me babe like after every sentence. Like he just stopped doing those things. And I didn't think a whole lot of it because at this point his work situation was not the best and he was very stressed and I was trying to give him grace, give him space. But at the same time that he was being weird with me, he was just continuing to go out with his friends. This man was a very social person, so I'm not going to knock that. I'm going to leave it for what it is. He was always doing something, whether it was a rodeo, a concert, going out with his CrossFit guys after. He's just a very busy person. So I was just giving him space. I'm like, it kind of sucks that he's not texting me. I could see he was at like a bar because I could see his location. And I really, really tried to not let it affect me. I just brought up casually. I said, hey, I know you've been a little distant lately. Like, is everything okay? Are we okay? What's going on? He assures me everything's fine. I have nothing to worry about. He's just stressed at work and that he'll be better about texting me when he goes out. And I wasn't asking for much. I was just asking for a simple, hey, like if it's a Friday, I would ask like, hey, I'm not going to be able to text you much this weekend, which I personally believe anyone can make time to communicate with you. But all I needed was, hey, it's Friday. I'm going out with friends this weekend. I'll catch up with you when I can. Good. Like I was just asking for very basic communication. He didn't really make much of an effort. If anything, he got more distant. And I truly, truly tried to not make myself go crazy. So I was keeping myself busy. I was trying to be like, hey, can we book our plane tickets for Florida? We're planning the Florida wedding. I had invested in dresses for not only the Florida wedding, but also his brother's wedding. So we planned to do Florida. And then the next week he would come back to New England because that's where his brother's wedding would be. And I asked him if he wanted to get dinner with my parents. And if I had to put a pin in where the relationship went wrong, looking back on everything, it would be this exact moment. I said, let's get dinner with my parents, like while you're here, so they can like meet you as my partner. He just replied with, I would rather myself than sit at a table with my mother. I was so caught off guard. And he continued to send me a couple texts saying, like, we've talked about this. I don't understand why you would suggest that. And there was a miscommunication. He thought I was asking to get dinner with his parents, which, like I said, family situation, bad. I'm not going to touch it. Not going to talk about it. And I texted him back and I said, no, I meant getting dinner like with my parents. I would never want to like impede on your family and I would never force like a relationship that's not there. That's not my place. Like I didn't, and I apologize. I said, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. He just laughs it off. He said, oh, haha, sorry. You know how I am with my family. I misread, like trying to brush it off. And I just kind of let it go. But the more I sat with this, the more it bothered me that he would speak to me that way. So I just simply communicated that. I said, hey, I know you really didn't mean it that way and that your family is touchy, but I really didn't appreciate how you spoke to me. It made me feel like I did something wrong and I didn't. And also, even if I had suggested dinner with your parents, you don't share all the information with me regarding them. So I don't really know what to do with that. And you can't treat me as if I have all the information and suggest these things. Like I simply just set a boundary. And he just leaves me on red. And I don't hear from him at all through the evening. I don't hear from him until the next morning. And I like looking at his location just to like see what he's doing, not even thinking anything of it. And I see he's at Second Rodeo, another like saloon bar that's down in the Fort Worth area. And then I see that he's in some random apartment complex in Plano, Texas. I'm sorry, I don't really know how to pronounce the towns. I just noticed that he's at like a random apartment at like 3 a.m., but I just assumed that he was with his friends. But I'll tell you, we're starting to get to the weird stuff, to the shocking stuff, to the whole reason why I made this like 20-part series, because we haven't even gotten to why I'm here on your For You page and why my videos have been blowing up. If you haven't seen the other parts, you should go watch them. I put them in a playlist on my page. You can just scroll through, everything is there. If you need a refresher, this is who we're talking about, my ex-boyfriend who lives in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, who I've known for over 20 years of my life. To figure out where we are on the timeline, this next part of the story happened about 2.5, 3 weeks ago, so we're getting pretty close to present day. It's just really bad all around. Like we're FaceTiming, the FaceTime calls are dry, bland, not really talking about a lot. I was having a hard time with my job, he's having a hard time at his job. We're going back and forth. I'm like kind of asking if everything's okay. He tells me everything's fine. Deep down, I knew that I was losing him, like worst feeling ever. Didn't want to admit it, didn't want to push him away, but also didn't want to sit in anxiety with no answers. So I was very strategic about when I brought certain things up. One of our FaceTime calls, he tells me that he's considering going back into the military. I don't want to talk about that aspect. Just know that he was considering going back into the military and he's about to age out of the military. So the first thing I said when he told me this was, if now's your chance, I think you should do it, because if it's your dream, you should do it. And he goes into this whole thing about how he would never drag me through military life, how it's like really hard. There's a 90% divorce rate, like throwing all of these statistics at me that made me like really nervous. And I didn't want to say like, I'll follow you around wherever, because I need to figure stuff out in my life first. But he's basically framing it up in a way of he's doing me a favor and he would never want to put me through that hardship, which seemed really admirable. I'm really going to skip over this whole military conversation because it makes me uncomfortable, but he basically just starts talking instead of we, he talks in I, like, you know, the drill when someone is checked out of a relationship, like, you know, and he just starts saying things that I think he was trying to make me upset. So I would cause a fight, but I was being very cautious of his feelings. I didn't want to tell him to stay and not go, even though that's how I felt. So I was supportive of him because at the end of the day, I cared about him so much that I would rather have him be happy without me than be miserable and have missed out on his goals because of me. At this point, too, he completely stopped about me moving down to Fort Worth with him, even though I was getting ready to move, like making very serious choices, thinking that this was my future. And every time I would say, I miss you, he wouldn't say anything. Every time I'd say, oh, yeah, when I'm down in Texas, he would like brush it off, like not say anything. He never talked about me being down in Texas anymore. Like the writing was on the wall and I just knew, but I didn't want to let go yet. A few days go by, nothing improves. He's still dry texting me. He's not sending me hearts. He's not calling me babe, not saying good morning, not saying good night, just being extremely distant. And I'm trying to be respectful and not be an annoying girlfriend, but I can see that he's going out at night. I never told him that I was looking at his location because I just didn't want to be like crazy, because at the time I had no reason to look at his location. I was just like wondering why he was at a bar and not able to text me. Like that's simply all it was at the time. So eventually I sent him this text and said, hey, it really bothers me that you're out at bars. And I go into how he's not treating me right and how we have this weird thing and I don't know what's going on. We haven't booked our tickets to Florida. Like I'm very confused. I invested money in dresses, gifts, like all of this stuff. And he just keeps telling me he doesn't have answers, he doesn't have time. He makes it very clear he doesn't want to have this conversation anymore and he goes dark. And he gives me the silent treatment for 2 straight days. For 2 days, I am just trying to give him space. Meanwhile, I'm just carrying such heavy anxiety. I'm trying to focus on work. I can't sleep. I get stressed because I see that he's going to bars. I keep saying that, but like that's all he did. And then he would end up at these random apartments at 2 a.m. Here's an example. He would end the night here after the bars. He would be here for like 2 hours and then go home at like 3 a.m. And he would go as far as going like 45 minutes away from his apartment. Like it was very odd. And when I saw this screenshot, I saved specifically because I just had a gut feeling that he was with someone else, but I just pushed it down and pushed it down and pushed it down because I did not want to think that. I had no reason to think that.
I'm a little not I'm confused a little bit by his actions too, because why would you share your location with the person and then do all of this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Was it like he was hiding in plain sight or so? I don't understand. This is brazen. This is brazen.
At this time. When we first started seeing each other, we talked about our non-negotiables for a relationship, and I said being yelled at, being laughed at, and being given the silent treatment were 3 deal breakers for me, and he agreed. He told me silent treatment was emotionally mature because it is. Yet here he was giving me the silent treatment for 2 days over virtually nothing. So after 2 days, I reach out to him and I say, "Hey, this isn't fair to me. I don't deserve this. I feel like you're punishing me, and I don't know why. Can you please give me some answers or at least let me know you're okay?" And he replies instantly with a photo of his truck. Somebody had slammed into it. And the only text that he gives me is, "I'm fucked." Nothing else. I ask him, "Are you okay?" Silent. This man did not give a fuck that I was in another state, unable to help him, that he just sent me a picture of him being in a car accident with absolutely no explanation whatsoever. Like he simply did not care. I did not hear from him for days after that. I've been really bad about including my receipts, but here's the screenshot. So he sends me this. He says, "I'm fucked." I said, "Oh, fuck. Are you okay?" He doesn't answer. And then I text him in the morning just asking if we can talk because it's not fair that he's just simply.
It was his fault. Looks like that's why he said he was fucked. Right? It looks like it was his fault. I don't know. It looks like it. I don't know. Maybe that car was turned into him. What kind of car is that? Is that a Lincoln? That looks like a really expensive car if it's not a Lincoln.
Not communicating to me. And what I now know, which I'll get into how I know this really, really soon, I promise, is that he was on his way to a date with another girl from his gym when he got in this car accident.
Of course.
He bailed on the date with her, sorted everything out with the police, and then drove his car to the Fort Worth stockyards and took out another girl from his CrossFit gym on another date.
Wow.
This is a screenshot from the girl he was supposed to be going on a date with before he got in the car accident. She commented on my TikTok, and I only know that he actually went on a date with another girl because someone in my DMs who's close to him said that he saw him with a girl that night. So I know that there were 2 girls because she said that she didn't meet up with him, and they said that he was there with another girl that was also from CrossFit. Crazy. But I'll tell.
Wow. Wow, dude.
So last we spoke, he was taking a girl on a date, got in a car accident, went on a date with another girl. Keep in mind, I still did not know that. So I was still at home receiving the silent treatment from him. And I'm going to kind of fast forward through the next like week or so because it is kind of repetitive. It's just the same patterns of silence, dryness, me asking for connection, me reaching out, me him space because he has a deeply avoidant attachment style. And I knew the more I pushed, the more he pulled. I admittedly have an anxious attachment style, and this triggered every aspect of that. And it took so much for me to just have the patience and grace and like not say the things I actually wanted to say. And I did have a couple moments that weren't my best, but nothing major. We basically just go the rest of the week not really talking. Every time we have contact, it's me reaching out and him either talking to me as if nothing else is going on. Like he'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm golfing with my buddies today." To the point where I just said, like, "I need you to FaceTime me right now and we need to sort this out for real." I am glossing over all of the personal details again for the sake of time, and having to relive it is difficult. But the few days leading up to this FaceTime call, which was our breakup, and I'll get into that, I was just inconsolable, like crying in the shower, sitting down in the shower, like sobbing every night into my pillow. Like, I'm not saying that to be what was me. I'm just saying that this sent me into such a bad place. And this man did not care. He, to be fair, he did not know, but he did not make the effort to know.
He didn't
FaceTime
care.
him and he's just talking about his work and his job and blah, blah, blah. And I cut him off and I just said, I need you to give it to me straight. What's the deal with the weddings? Are we together? Are we not? Like, I need you to tell me point blank to my face and why. And he basically breaks up with me. He does break up with me, I guess, vaguely, and gives me a non-answer about how it's not you, it's me. He tried to go into I need to love myself, which I cut him off very quickly, and I said, I have never depended on you for self-love. I do not need you here. I want you here. And I've never done anything that would ever suggest I am dependent on you for self-love.
He got her confused with another woman.
He tried to plot basically every cliche in the book and ultimately just decided that he doesn't know where he's going with his life right now. The situation with his car sent him into a spiral. He's now in debt. His job is going badly. Just like all of this like perfect storm stuff. And I was really sympathetic to that. And I just he broke up with me. And we ended the conversation by saying that I was no longer going to the wedding in Tampa with him.
He took another woman to the he was gonna take another woman to the thing. That was that obviously, right? That's what that was about.
And that we would meet up before Memorial Day weekend when he was back in New England before his brother's wedding, and that I could potentially go to his brother's wedding with him if I wanted to be there. And the last thing I told him on that
Why?
FaceTime call was, I know that now you're technically single. I just want you to know, if you so much as get someone's number, kiss someone, hook up with someone, I will not be able to pursue this any further. And I'm not saying that as a threat. I'm saying that if you do something like that, I know about it and we get back together, I will not be able to let it go. And you don't deserve that.
That's fair.
And I don't deserve to be in that position. And then you don't deserve to have it thrown in your face if I decide to get back together with you. Like, you guys know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he assured me that there was nobody else. It wasn't about the weddings. He has no intentions of finding another date, and that it's just about him, and he just needs to sort out his shit.
Bullshit.
This was our text exchange right after we kind of sort of broke up. Like, he broke up with me, but we were still in contact, and we had decided that we were going to see each other at this point over Memorial Day weekend. At this time, he also got multiple pieces of bad news. And he was just really going through a lot, and I was really empathetic towards that. And I was really just putting my feelings aside and trying to be there for him. I offered to get on a plane to see him. He just left me on red. He was golfing with his friends, I later found out. And then I just said, I'm giving you the space. Like, I know I sound like a broken record, but I'm here. Like, I don't know how many times I can say I'm here. And then I told him in a few weeks I'd love to see you. He kind of reached out and sent these weird evasive messages, so I just repeated myself and said, like, let's talk everything out face to face, like when I come see you. And he then starts going to how he doesn't have any answers, he doesn't have anything to lay out. And so I just said, fine, I'll leave you alone. And the only thing I asked is if he would acknowledge in some way if this is what he wants. And he left me on red. These are all of our final messages, but I'll start with this one at the top. He left me on red for 2 days after I asked for some sort of acknowledgement. He just said he doesn't have the answers that he can give me, like very evasive, very non-answer. Ignore this stuff for now. I'll get into that in a little bit. I never replied to his initial message because I was truly just so heartbroken. I could not accept the fact that I was losing what I thought was my person. I just kept replaying all these incredible moments and looking back at what an amazing human being I thought he was, and just figuring out what went wrong. Like, what happened? How did he flip a switch? Like, is it that he cares about me but he can't express it? Is it that he just doesn't care about me? Like, what is it? I was going through it basically alone. So I confided in my mom and I confided in my best friend, who just said all signs point to there being another person or him just
Yeah.
being emotionally avoidant in the worst way possible. And you could not convince me that there was another person. I told her, I said, I'm so confident there is no one else. There hasn't been any signs. Like, this man is crazy about me. I feel it in my bones. Like, I'm crazy about him. Like, I just don't think it's that. I think he has a lot going on. And because I'm so far away, I'm the easiest thing for him to cut off in his life right now. Like, really blaming myself. And she says, have you downloaded Hinge? And I'll talk about that.
Wow. That's when it all changed. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh man, I can't wait to hear this part. My thing is, was the friend just saying to just check him out, or did she know something? Because that was crazy. Specifically, Hinge, not is that like the hot app? Like, I don't know. I don't know shit about the dating app. So, I'm still thinking Tinder is popping, from what people say, Tinder ain't it no more. But yeah, I don't know, but that's just crazy that she said specifically Hinge. That's interesting.
I just want to clear something up before I get started. I was never engaged or about to marry this person. The title from this series was inspired by Risa Tisa's series, Who the Fuck Did I Marry? Definitely go watch her content. I just thought that everyone was as chronically online as me and would get the reference. I was not trying to rip her off, and I was not going to marry this person. Thank God. I just really thought that this was my person, and I thought someday that we would get married. We talked about getting married all the time. He said he wanted to marry me. If you've seen all the other parts, you know what I'm saying.
First of all, shout out to her for doing that, Casey, for doing that, for acknowledging Risa Tisa. I wouldn't have thought to do, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't think she was still in it the whole time, because everybody says that now. We all know, you know what I mean? Like, I just, yeah, I feel like her, like, we all know that, but I love that she took the time to do that. But shout out to Risa Tisa too, because Risa Tisa still got the OG. We still calling niggas Legion level liars to this day because of Risa Tisa. She a living legend.
Just as a reminder, this is who we're talking about. My boyfriend of the past few months. We have been in contact since Thanksgiving, and we're dating up until about a week or so ago. My best friend asks if I've looked for him on Hinge. She offers to like use her profile to find him on Hinge. I swear up and down, like, no, there's no way, no feelings. Like, I told her like I have absolutely no interest in doing that. I'm not gonna go looking for things either. Like, why would I drive myself crazy if I have no reason to? Right? But the
No, not right. What? Why not just look it up? Just look it up. Doesn't hurt to look it up.
more I thought about it, the more I thought maybe I should create a Hinge. I tried to go to bed to ignore the feeling, press it down. I woke up at midnight that night with this overwhelming intuitive feeling that you have to make a Hinge account right now. I can't explain it. I woke up, I grabbed my phone, and I started getting to work making this Hinge account. Making this fake profile with a pretty girl. I'm filling all the information, and I am laying bricks. I'm not just making a profile picture. I'm making sure it's in his neighborhood. The mileage is turned down, the age is turned down, like, so it's only in such a small radius so that if he is on Hinge, I find his profile and I lay bricks. And what I mean by that specifically is I made sure the details of this profile were pristine. For example, I made sure her hometown was in Rhode Island because I knew that he would be there over Memorial Day weekend for his brother's wedding, and I wanted to see if he would either ask to go on a date with her or ask her to be his date to his brother's wedding.
Damn.
So I get to swiping, I get through like 10 profiles, and it says that there's no one in your area, and I just let it go and I go to bed. I'm like, okay, this was silly. I don't know why I'm overthinking. I wake up the next morning, make my coffee, sit outside, pull up my phone, and pull up Hinge. This was the first thing that I saw when I opened the app, and my heart dropped. So I text my friend and I tell her, oh my gosh, he's on Hinge. You were right. What do I do? What do I do with this information? I'm freaking out. And she tells me to take a step back because if you delete the Hinge app but don't delete your profile, you still show up on people's discover page. And I know this because when I downloaded the app, I had previously had Hinge before talking to this person, and my profile had like 250 plus likes, and I know I hadn't used it in months. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to send him a message and we'll see what he says. I feel like it wasn't even 2 minutes that went by before he matched with me after I sent him this message, and he immediately messages this girl. Her name is Elle. That's the name that I gave her. And if you notice, the first thing that he brings up is how on hell did you end up here from Rhode Island? So I make up this little backstory. One of my friends has been down here, needed a roommate, been here for about 6 months, and I love it. I ask him about the school that he went to and if he's from New England originally. He immediately says, that's pretty spontaneous. He was always talking about being spontaneous and spontaneity and being the runaway child. And a few things to know in this message is that he immediately asks me what I do for work and if it allows me to relocate easily. And then he comments that he has a huge wedding in Providence next weekend and immediately asks this girl to fly home and be his plus one. I knew he was going to bring up the wedding or the fact that I lived in Rhode Island.
What? Plus one to a wedding? You just ask some random stranger? Dog, this is crazy.
And wanted to meet up. I did not expect him to ask a literal stranger on the second message that he ever sent to her to be his date to his brother's wedding.
That's
so
crazy.
I just said I consider
Brother's wedding, not his. It don't even matter who. What? A stranger? Dog. That is mind blowing. Like, why not just go by yourself? Like, I've been to a wedding by myself. It's like, it's okay, especially if you know the people there. I went to a wedding where I only knew the groom and it was okay. I couldn't imagine if it was like my family. I'd be like, hell yeah, it's lit. What the fuck?
Myself to be spur of the moment because I knew he'd like that. I make up that I work in marketing, and then I say, "This is insane, but I'm going to be home for Memorial Day weekend. Weddings are so fun. I find it hard to believe you don't already have a date." He then again asks if she's fully remote. This is important for a later message. He then asks if she would like to come to his brother's wedding with him. He said he'll be in the wedding party, but he'll be able to help out the bride and groom while also being attentive to her, and that he'd love to have her there. And this was like a punch to the gut because I, as Casey, was supposed to be at that wedding. His family knew, and I know that because I talked to his father at one point. Like, his family knew about me and about our relationship. I don't know if they knew everything else. I really hope not. And I'm just gonna not think about it.
Why would he do that? Why would he tell them? This is really crazy. Like, was he, but he had to have been cheating the whole time though. So I don't know. This is a conundrum for me. I could, there's only so much I can do to figure this out, but I don't understand this dude's methodology at this point. I feel like I'm a fucking mind hunter, goddamn, serial cheater profiler at this point. But I don't understand that yet. Maybe I'll think about it more.
About that. So I make up a job that says I'm able to be fully remote, and then I tell him that I actually have a wedding on the Cape in June, and I'll be the date to his if he wants to be the date to mine, and that maybe we should meet up first. And at this point, the plan was so innocent. Me and my friend were going to catfish him. We were going to set up a date, and then I was going to show up as Casey. Because up until this entire point in this entire series, I am very well aware that, yeah, there's some weirdness going on, but this is a black and white relationship of like boy cheats on girl, and nothing super serious has happened yet. So just take that for what it is. He asks if he can have this girl's number. I play it off and I just say, I don't want to give you my number yet. I've had some weird experiences. Let's get to know each other first.
Wait, but you just invited him to a wedding, but now you don't want to give him your number. That would have gave me a red flag if I were him. But he's a man, so I guess he's not really tripping out. But yeah, a Google number would have done really well. Just do a Google number.
So he tells me a little bit about himself. Nobody cares about that, so I'm going to skip over it. And he starts going into that he's flying out for a different wedding.
Look at how much he's texting her versus how much he wasn't texting Casey the last week or so.
He's going to be back on Monday or Tuesday before he goes back to New England and wants to meet me in Fort Worth first. He says he's officiating this wedding, that it's in Tampa. It's on Thursday. It's extremely formal, all black, on the water, and figures it would be too spontaneous to take me to this one. I keep the conversation going, and then I start trying to pivot into, why are you on Hinge? I tell him he's so handsome and he seems really cool, and I can't believe he's looking for a long-term connection, because that's what his profile said. I was like, there has to be more to the story. You're too perfect. I say, wow, another wedding. I tell him, don't tempt me with a good time. And then unfortunately, that I'm flying home on Sunday, so I can't meet him in Fort Worth, and then I'm visiting some friends in Boston before heading home to Rhode Island. He replies back and said that there is a catch, that he's going back into the military. I'm going to redact some of this just because it's very specific and that's not the goal of this whatsoever. But that he's still looking for a long-term relationship or life partner, and he doesn't know if he'll ever find someone that's going to be willing to go with him wherever the military sends him. And from what I've seen, I believe that this is a copy-paste message that he has sent to multiple people, and I'll tell you more about that in a little bit. Then he says the wedding he's officiating is this Thursday, the one in Florida. So if you have a long black dress and want to FaceTime me first, it's not too late. I'd book you a flight. I need a dance partner. This crushed my soul when I read it, but not as much as it crushed me when I saw this. So I don't have the screenshot, but I sent a message before and I said, if you don't mind, I'd love to know a little bit about you, not to waste time. When was your last relationship and why did it end? And he says that it ended a little over a year ago. Healthy relationship. She wasn't a bad person. She just acted different when she drank, and he didn't like that. Yada, yada, yada. This is not true, by the way. When I saw this as Casey, I felt heartbroken. He was dating me, I believe, up until like a day or two prior to this point. And he told me this exact script when we first started talking, when I told you, when I asked about being physically intimate, he said the last person he was physically intimate was about a year ago. This just did not add up, and I lost my mind. And I will tell you about that in the next part. If you're a single woman in the Dallas Fort Worth area, you need to watch this series. Unfortunately, I decided to take down my Who the F Did I Think I Was Going to Marry series. I heard from the person who the series was about. They sent me an email with what I'm fairly confident is a fake cease and desist letter. However, they found the emails of my family members, also sent it to them, and it's just getting a little out of hand. And I decided for now, the best thing to do is just take down the videos of this person's face and the comments with this person's name, just to avoid any further action or hearing from them. This is the letter. I'm not saying it's not totally valid, but I don't think it's a formal cease and desist. There's no sign of an attorney. It just says on behalf of this person's name. The email that he sent it to me in also just said do not reply, and the grammar was improper. So
That ain't, he ain't even use Chat GPT.
take that for what you will. I technically still am within the 48-hour window if I want to keep the videos up until 10 p.m. Eastern time tonight. I've been going back and forth with this all day because this person has already taken so much from me in terms of my ability to love and trust, affecting my mental health, potentially affecting my physical health. It bothers me a lot that they're now trying to take away my voice and my right.
Because it happened so recently. She's just got tested, I'm sure. I think that's why she's like potentially this could affect my physical health. Scary stuff for her right now.
To share my very real experiences with this person. I
Yeah, I say fuck him. Fuck him and feed him fish. Let's keep going.
believe the only reason that this person reached out to me is because he just wants everything wiped. I think that he didn't realize how much of a platform I had, my ability to use it, and that all of this would just go crazy.
He fucked with the right one. He picked the right one today. Let's go, Casey. I'm with it. And then I'ma share it, and it's we gonna keep going. Let other motherfuckers share it too. Come on, y'all.
Viral. And the only reason that all of this went viral, by the way, is not because I talked about what happened, because in my original video, I didn't talk about what happened, but people knew who he was. They knew this person, they recognized the photos. I am of the belief that this person really just brought this on themselves. And they're not sorry. They're not sorry that they got caught. They're continuing to do what they're doing. They just don't want any evidence of it. Who the F Did I Think I Was Going to Marry series was laying the groundwork for the bigger problem. Before the series got taken down, everything that I had shared was simply just about my experience with this person and really was just the story of a relationship that ended and he was on Hinge after, and like that really sucked. I never got to explain why I chose to bring this to social media in the first place, but I'm going to do it right now. When I posted my video saying, never mind, he was on Hinge, I thought that was just a silly joke. It was a coping mechanism for me. I just put it out on the internet. I could have never imagined that when I went to bed that night and woke up to that video having almost 1 million views, that it would be flooded and filled with comments, and my DMs would be full of people saying they know this person, they recognize this person, they have been on dates with this person has approached them, they've had other experiences with this person, including being in a relationship with this person, having physical relations with this person. I was shocked. And it just kept getting worse. This goes way beyond a story of my boyfriend was unfaithful to me and talking to a couple other women in our relationship. This man was juggling dozens and dozens of women, I believe, at the same time. I do not know how he had time for this. I do not know how he did this.
And that's why his job was suffering. By the way, if his job was really suffering, which I could believe that, that's why it was suffering, because he was at work all day on Hinge. He was at work all day texting women. He couldn't be focused at work. So his job, his performance at work was suffering. And he's so addicted to it, right? It's so validating for him that he was willing to sacrifice his paycheck for some vagina.
Everyone I tell this to has no idea. This goes so beyond just a problem with me. I'm talking taking multiple girls out in a day, talking to multiple girls at a time, having multiple physical partners allegedly, and not disclosing properly that you are with other people and putting people's sexual health at risk. And that is why I am here. That is why I am sharing this story, because it is wrong. If you watched part of my series, you know that something I said in there was when I was physically intimate with this person, we had the conversation of if we were with anyone else. We both said that we were not. This person specifically said that they were not with anyone for a very long time and that they were clean and reassured me that everything would be fine. I come to find out that that is not true. I'm not saying this person was not clean. I truly don't know any of that. I'm going to take care of myself this week. However, I do know what was not true was that I was not the only person this man was being physically intimate with. My DMs are overflowing with people saying they have had an experience with this person or know someone who has had an experience with this person, whether that's dating, hooking up, getting their phone number at the gym. I am talking friends. I am talking former coworkers. I am talking former coaches. I cannot explain to you how widely this is spread. It is honestly almost unbelievable. I don't even believe it myself. Know how this person had the time, the willpower, the energy, or even could think to do this. I am talking perpetually on Hinge, constantly, 24/7.
So the friends didn't know either, I'm guessing, right? Like nobody knew.
I mentioned that I made a fake profile and caught him on Hinge. So did four of my friends. Collectively, there were 4 or 5 profiles of people that he was talking to, having the same conversations with, trying to tell them that woe is me. I'm never going to find a girl who's going to follow me in through the military, yada, 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 inviting them to these weddings, offering to fly them out, just absolutely insane stuff, saying he wants to pursue them. He wants a connection. I can't even get into the details because it is just so horrifying how meticulous and thought out, or maybe there is no thought, just how copy and paste these conversations are. Of everything else, the situation with me, I was his girlfriend. From what I understand, I was his only girlfriend. And granted, I didn't live in Texas, but I was willing to uproot my life to move to Texas for him. He made me feel like I was the most special woman in the world.
Is that why she was his girlfriend? Because she didn't live there. Like he wouldn't have a girlfriend that actually lived in Texas. That's too risky. But you know what I mean? Like maybe that's why. And that's how he maintained the connection with her because there's no way he would be able to keep her and not be her boyfriend. So the way he kept her was by being her boyfriend, and then he could just still date around in the city he was in, because those women he's closer to in proximity, so he can maintain those relationships better.
I loved this person so, so, so deeply. So to find out that they're basically an entirely other person and doing all of these things and being with other people to a absolutely horrifying level. Like I can't explain this isn't 1 or 2 people that they cheated on me with. That is, I saw this man posted in the Dallas Fort Worth "Who Are We Dating" group. The comments, hundreds of comments, people saying that they're currently hooking up with him. They had hooked up with him, that he was weird to them. He told them that he loved them. Like everyone has a story, and somehow the stories are all so similar and so different at the same
Damn.
time. Honestly, one 10-minute video on TikTok isn't enough for me to get you to understand the gravity of this situation and just how deeply rooted it is and how sinister it is and diabolical that this man had a web of women, and not even limited to Dallas Fort Worth. I had comments, people saying that he was on the Are We Dating page in Cleveland, that had over 100 comments on it. He's from the New England area. I had people from New Hampshire, Boston, Rhode Island like reach out. The craziest part is I don't know when he did all of this. Like he was on Hinge when we were in Hawaii together, and I had no idea. And I was with him a majority of the time. I truly believe that this person has a real problem and that it is so much more sinister than I could ever imagine. And I don't know how to explain that to everyone. The only thing that I can say is that if you are aware of this person or know someone who has been with this person, the most important thing you can do is take care of yourself. I went to the doctor and I took care of myself. If you know what I mean, make sure that nothing is wrong and stay away from this person. That's the only advice I can give you. And I know that even that won't put a stop to this, that there are many other women out there that will probably fall for his charming, kind, like genuine personality and never know. Because honestly, if I never posted my TikTok, I never would have known this. I never would have known that the person that I was with, the person that I was dating that I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with, because that's what they told me they wanted, the person that I was going to move halfway across the country for, was being physically intimate with other women and not telling me. I feel disgusting and out of touch with my own body. I can't even explain, like, let alone the heartbreak of this whole situation. I can get over that and I'll get over this too. But I just don't feel like myself. I feel so violated. I feel like I have to shower multiple times a day, wash my bed sheets every day, like wear different clothes. Like I cannot escape the feeling of what this person has done.
It To me, the way she's describing it, it feels like being SA'd by a man. And that's essentially what it is when you really think about it. But yeah, I can see that. It's hearing this stuff, like I said, it's like I talk about this, but I can't it can't go unstated because I want men to really start to do the like when you do the work, you really have to listen to women. You have to listen to their testimonies. It's tough. You got to get through it because you probably did something like this. You know what I mean? Like I know it is, right? I know it is. Hearing the way she's talking about this, women, I've hurt women, I've hurt girls when I was in high school, whatever the case may be. Yes, right? I get it. It sucks as a man. You don't want to look at, put that mirror up to your face, but you have to listen to this stuff. You have to listen to it because hearing her story, hearing the way that it made her feel is something that if you have a conscience, you just simply you don't want to do that to a person. You don't. And I think that it's easy to not give a fuck. It's easy to write it off as she'd be all right and whatever. Whatever rationalization you come up with, but it's different when you hear a person that was actually harmed by this say these things out loud and just articulate it the way that she's articulating it right now. So I really want the men to, I really wish more men would come and pay attention and watch this content. Man, it's exhausting. I do. I really, really, truly want men to do this. Um, it is so it is life changing. I promise you, it is. It makes you better. It makes you stronger. Listening to women's testimonies, listening to their stories. It's something that men need. We need to do it. Like we got to do it. You don't ever hear this as a man. You don't. You don't. You only hear your side. You only hear your boys talk about it, and then you get like maybe some anger from a woman, but you don't hear another woman who you didn't harm articulate it the way that she's doing it often if you're not looking for it as a man. Right? This video has millions of views. I bet you 90% of them are women.
And is still doing. I don't even think that I have even explained or could get someone to understand the severity of this situation unless you are me or my mother or someone close to me who has watched me experience this firsthand. I don't even know if this video makes any sense. If it does, like, I'm so sorry you had to experience this. To the person who caused all of this hurt and hate and made me feel violated and just disgusted, I truly hope that you get help. I know that you won't. I don't know why you did this. I believe it's because you hate women and you hate yourself. But I
Yeah.
will take this and I will grow from it and I will be better for it. And I know that you will always be who you are at your core, which is underwhelmingly average in every capacity.